Good afternoon, guys. This is your girl, Black and Indigenous American. I trust that you guys are well. I'm doing well, and I'm thankful to be here with you guys. Once again, I'm having a live video, and I haven't given anyone notice. I just pop up. So eventually, I'm going to have some kind of schedule so you guys know when I'm about to be live. But anyway, as far as this video, it's going to be spiritual. It's going to be based on what I've experienced thus far. Not too deep, but getting deep. I did mention a couple of books that I just purchased, and I finished one of them. And I'm in the middle of, well, I'm not in the middle of, but I just started reading the next book. The first book, I believe, was Spiritual Growth by Sanaya Romans, Romas. And the other book is Behold a Pale Horse by William, trying to remember his last name. And I've already talked about those books in my last video. So if you need more information, you can watch that video and go from there. But anyway, so one of my loves lost a really close surrogate a week ago, literally last Thursday. And, you know, it was a tough loss. Long story short, it was right before Hurricane Dorian and all the stuff. And it was right before that eye of the storm went over Outer Banks. So he passed before that. But I say all of this because a few days later, after the news that we received, there were a few things that happened. And I'm not going to go into detail because what happened is a private experience. But let's just say that I witnessed a butterfly do something very peculiar. And I heard his voice last Friday. It popped in my head. This is an hour after learning about the passing. His personality and everything came out. It was a few words, but I heard it and I kept my mouth shut because at that moment, I didn't feel like that was the right time to share from the initial shock. You know, I didn't want to share it so soon. Then we were on the phone with his wife a few days ago. And while we were on the phone with her, talking about flooding and things of that nature, which does happen in the Outer Banks when there's high tide as well as a tropical and or hurricane, right? Tropical storm. That happens. So, you know. And while we were on the phone with her, I was listening to my love and her talk, and she was on speakerphone. And literally, something caught my eye because I was watching, I think I was watching TV or whatever. And I looked at the water bottle that I was drinking from. A Fiji, you know, really tall water bottle you guys see me drink out before. And no lie, I see an image, a face of an older man. Not saying the man that actually crossed over last Thursday that I'm referring to, but an almost ancient individual. And once my love got off the phone, I was like, look, come here, sit right here. Do you see what I see? And for the life of him, he couldn't see it. So I was like, okay, let me take a picture and see if I can capture the image, because it was still there. And I took a picture of the image, and when he saw it, he was speechless. This is a person that I care and love for. Believe it when he sees it. No, hocus pocus and wishful thinking. He is a concrete type person. He needs to see it in writing. He needs to see it for himself. So anyway, he sees the image. I was like, see, this is the face that I saw. You just couldn't see with your naked eye. He was looking past the image that I saw. He was looking like if you're looking at a glass of water, you kind of looking maybe through the glass, and that's what he was doing. He didn't see the surface that I was looking at. And he was like, that looked like a Native American Indian man. I said, yes, it does. And he said, is that your ancestor? I was like, I don't know, maybe. But the thing is, I saw his face while my love and his Saracen mother were talking. They were talking about water damage or flooding or what have you, the hurricane coming through, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I saw the guy, whatever this ancestor is or whoever he is, his face. He had a very typical, like back in the day when people would take pictures, they wouldn't smile. It was kind of like that. He had tight lip, like it looked like he had war paint on his face, like right here. And it almost looked like he was wearing a hat, almost like a cowboy hat. But the point is, for 2 days after that, my love was like, I think you should buy more water, because, you never know when something's about to happen. And I said, why are you saying I need to buy more water? He was like, because the old man in that image, that the water bottle. And I was like, okay, I understand you're still concerned that this is a bad omen or something. But I don't believe it's a bad omen. I just think that image I saw while they were talking about flooding, and it happened to be a water bottle. And where this location is, where his Saracen mother lives, they've seen sightings of indigenous American people all in that area. They have archaeologists that have gone there and studied and did research and what have you. And so that region of the island was occupied by indigenous folks. They call them Hatteras, natives, Indians, whatever. You guys can look it up, because I'm still learning about the natives from that island. But anyway, so there is a correlation. I'm not sure if it's a correlation between the surrogate father who passed last Thursday and the flooding in the home. I don't know. So I'm still trying to figure it all out. I'm not the one who says I know it all or I have all the answers. I'm still searching, guys. I'm still seeking. And things like that. Typically, I'll get messages in my dreams, and then later I might try to dissect it. Some websites is an omen, others it's good luck, or it's, something great. So over the years, I've kind of like decided not to allow heavily on any and all websites or whatever, depending on how you perceive information. And if you receive that and believe that, then it is what it is. So if you believe it's a bad omen, well, then you just believed it and you felt it, and it's going to manifest, right? Law of attraction. It's going to manifest into whatever you fear. So I've just gotten to the point now. It's like, if I have any messages or whatever, how it speaks to me and how I receive it and how I feel about it is what it is in my life and within my walk. So anyway, that was something weird. And then I had a dream a few days ago of hair. And what's significant is that the number 14 pops up. And the number 14 is one of several numbers that my love is his number. It's one of his numbers. You know, it's just his thing. Like I have a particular number, you know, that for whatever reason it resonates with me. I'm always seeing it. You know, I see it on documents. I see it on license plate numbers. You know, I'm constantly seeing these numbers all the time, every day. And so one of his numbers is 14. So in this dream, as far as the hair and then the number, that stood out. Even though there was a lot of other things going on within that dream, the number 14 and the hair and all that, you know, stood out. Now, at this moment, I don't necessarily know the significance of that, but I'm sure it is some kind of significance. As far as lucid dreaming, I've had a few. Lucid dreaming is when you recognize that you are dreaming, and then you can alter your dream state however way you want to alter it. It's not like you just going with the flow and don't realize it's a dream. If you're dreaming and you realize it's a dream, then that's called lucid dreaming. So I had a lucid dream. To be honest with you, I don't remember the details, but what I do remember is in my dream, I said, this is a dream. And no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going over here, or some kind of way I said something like that. So I'm actually having more lucid dreams now. While I was reading the book that I just finished, Spiritual Growth, I believe, by Sanaya Roman. I was outside on the patio, on the deck, and I was reading this book, you know, really out there with nature, whatever, hearing the birds sing, and I was listening to sound bowl music, sound bowl healing music. So I hear the birds singing and I hear the sound bowl music, and I'm reading or whatever. And in that book, it says that, you know, once you do X, Y, and Z, then you'll have increasing experiences of whatever. So in my case, the lucid dreaming, I'm noticing that, as well as insects, and paying more attention to the animals and kind of like what they're doing. Typically, you know, you see a squirrel, like, hey, squirrel, whatever. Or if you see a bumblebee, okay, whatever, a bumblebee. But like earlier in this video, when I was talking about, there was a butterfly that did something not typical for a butterfly. It stood out. And again, I'm not going to talk too much about what happened, because that in and of itself is a private thing, private spiritual moment. And some people get very protective over that. So out of respect for my love, I'm not going to express or share everything that this butterfly did, but this butterfly did something unusual, but he needed that at that moment, and it helped him get through the next few days after the passing of his surrogate father. But anyway, back to what I was reading in this book. And so one thing about animals, you know, they can be messengers from the highest divinity to kind of get your attention or whatever. So anyway, I'm outside, and then there's a spider on the deck. I'm not a spider person, okay? Believe it or not, I could probably tolerate a snake over a spider. So anyway, while I'm reading this book, I notice a spider, and I kind of like try to scare it or shoo it away. Of course, it's in its element because it's outside. But anyway, so I prop my feet up, and I'm still looking around, making sure the spider is gone and, minding its business and not, in my business. So I'm reading, I don't know, 30 minutes later. And again, I'm still looking for the spider, sporadically. But I'm still reading. And a part of this book is said to be open to messages or what have you, set boundaries and things of that nature on a spiritual level, what you're willing to receive, what you're not willing to receive on a spiritual level. Like for me, I prefer messages and things within my dreams versus with my naked eye. And so shortly after all that, I looked down at my arm, and no lie, I believe that same spider that I saw earlier was on my freaking arm. And I did this, and I said, I did not give you permission to crawl on me. And then I don't know where the spider went because I didn't see it after that. But I got a glimpse of that spider on my arm chilling. And I did like that. I said, I did not give you permission to be on me. So I say all of this because you have to set boundaries. And sometimes lessons, I call them lessons, sometimes they can be uncomfortable. They can be scary sometimes. I choose to receive my lessons in the most gentle way possible. I prefer to learn through my dreams as well. Some dreams can be very intimidating. We've all had a nightmare here and there, right? Most nights I sleep very, very well. I have pleasant dreams. And then there's some dreams that it stays with me, like this one dream. And I may or may not have shared it with you guys, but I'm going to share this one with you guys. This was like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe, I think. I'm on an airplane where the dignitaries are on. Okay. I wasn't the only one that wasn't a dignitary, but I think the majority of people that were on this plane were high-ranked people, people with power and respect for the most part. So I'm on this plane, and for whatever reason, I can see like in the front end of the plane. Like I can see the pilots flying or whatever, where they're going or whatever. So I remember Barack Obama was on there. The Clintons were on there. And I remember, I think Michelle Obama was on there. We were like talking, just chit chat or whatever. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm on this plane with these high-ranked people. I mean, come on now, the Obamas, what? How in the world did I get on this plane? And anyway, long story short, next thing I know, at the time, I believe Barack Obama was the president when I had this dream. Next thing I know, like the persona changed, like an instant, it changed. And I remember like the important people got up and they went in another section of the plane. Well, I thought they did because they kind of like got up in a very alert way and went in another room. And then that side of the room was closed. I was like, that's odd. Like, why did they all just jump up at the same time and leave? Then they just seemed like they were nervous about something. And so next thing I know, I'm starting to feel the plane going down. So I don't know if the former president and first ladies and Obama and all them, I don't know if they had like a special jet to get them off that plane while the rest of us go down. I don't know. But for me, it seemed as if they were in a more secure area than I was. So anyway, the plane's going down. And I think in my dream, I think I asked God for forgiveness or something, because I knew we were going down. And we ended up landing like a crash landing in a small little town. And the nose of the plane was like this far. Once it stopped, it was this far from a little country church. And then I woke up. So then I'm like, what did that mean? Like, not to put your faith in politics and focus more on spiritual things. Now, of course, the church symbolizes salvation, in my opinion. I was raised, in the Christian faith. Not necessarily hardcore growing up, but we all knew who Jesus was, right? So, but then later on, when I kind of reflect back at that dream, I'm thinking, well, maybe it meant, as far as the church, maybe that was the foundation or the stepping block to elevate higher. Because obviously the politicians are not going to save you. Your faith is going to save you. And this right here can go in so many directions. But as far as right here currently, my thought process right now is that believing in highest divinity and knowing that you are part of the highest divinity and raising your vibration and get that bad boy up higher and higher and higher will elevate you. So you don't have to rely on politics and politicians, because it's not going to save you. That's how I interpret it today. And I'm sure there's more to dissecting that dream. But for me, that's what it meant for me. Like, yes, you should know what's going on based on what's given to us, as far as national news or whatever. But not to get so wound up thinking that a politician gonna save you, because that's not how it works. And this was before the clown in the White House and that circus administration. That was before all of that, I believe. So I think a lot of people put a lot of faith in the clown in the White House and his circus administration. And many of them have been disappointed. The rest of us are ready for him to get out. But then you have to look at it this way. Chaos before evolution. Chaos. He mentioned, talking about the clown in the White House, he mentioned he's chosen. I believe he was chosen. Yes, I do. On a spiritual level, I believe that man was chosen to stir up the pot. Get people wound up. Get them wound up. And it has worked. And not a day goes by. If you're looking at the national news, there's not a day goes by that they don't mention his name. And for whatever reason, highest divinity, the great I am, has allowed the circus to go on this long. And again, there's a reason. And I believe the reason is because all of that funk in disease and filth that was right on the surface, but right underneath the surface, marinating, it had to be dug up. And there's so many people out there who, in their head, they don't think that they're horrible people, or they don't think they're bad people because they're not doing something to kill someone or whatever. There's so much systematic structures in place. What some people just don't realize that they are beneficiaries of that structure. They believe that if they are not directly involved, that they should not be held accountable for all of the ugliness. And so somebody like the clown in the White House has stirred up the energy that was already at the low vibrational energy that was already there. And sometimes some people have to experience it for face value or whatever. They have to experience it for themselves. They have to be awakened in some of the most offensive ways to realize what they need to work on, what we all need to work on. And sometimes my Black African-American people, however way you want to describe Black folks in this country, many times people can be so focused on their oppressions and their oppressor and woe is me that they fail to realize that there are other groups of people who have suffered, who have been oppressed, that don't look like them. And so I think with the current administration, among other things, right, worldwide, globally, it's a reflection of what we all need to work on. We can't continue to point the finger. Well, he did this, or she did this, or they did this. We cannot continue to do that. This is the time to reflect. This is the time to raise our vibrations, because that's why all of this is happening at a rapid rate. So that's what I got out of that dream. Okay. Another dream I had that has stayed with me for years. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I had this dream. It probably started happening when I started seeing 1111 constantly. To this day, I see 1111 or 111 at least once a day. Usually, most of the time, it's several times a day. Now I see more other numbers like 222, 333, 555. I see a lot of that now. 666, 777. I'm seeing a lot of those numbers, 000. So it's not just 1111. But initially, when I start seeing these repetitive numbers, this started in September of 2012. And here it is, September 2019. And I'm still seeing these numbers. And I think when I start seeing these numbers, that's when I had this dream. So let me explain what happened. What I remember, because there was a lot going on in this dream. Okay, so apparently I decided I wanted to walk, get some exercise, which the way I did it in this dream was very odd because I'm very cautious. And if I'm not familiar with an area, I'm not going to be by myself, right? So, but for whatever reason, I was walking down this road. It was more like a 4-lane road, 2 lanes going this way, 2 lanes going that way. So it wasn't like a deserted dirt road or whatever like that. But I was walking on this road, and then I guess I lost track of time and it started to get dark. Like the sun was about to set. And I was like, why did I walk this far? And now it's about to get dark and ain't no way I'm gonna be able to walk in the dark by myself. And this is kind of country, this is a town I don't know nothing about. It's one of those small hick towns. Why did I walk down here all this way? So anyway, I decided to, because I did pass this little town. But then when it dawned on me, I should not continue to walk. I went back to this little town, which was in my dreams, it felt like maybe 5 minutes or something. So the sun goes down. I go to this town and it's very odd. You know how sometimes you feel like everyone's staring at you, not because you are a person of color or what have you, but it's just like more than that. So I see this motel. I remember it was a brick motel. It didn't have second or third level, which is one level, almost like a ranch style hotel. And I went into the office and I was like, I didn't make reservations, but I need a room. Do you have any rooms available? And then I remember I was told, I think we're all booked, but let me see what we have. And then I don't remember getting a key, but I remember I was told, oh, you can go to this room. I think that's how it was. And I was like, okay. So I go to the room, the regular motel looking room. And then I think I decided to walk around because I didn't want to seem like I was scared or whatever. I kind of wanted to walk around to some of the boutique shops and stuff, which wasn't that many because it's a small little hick town. And so I remember when I was in this room, I felt like it was somebody else's room. Couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I felt a little odd. But what I did was I did take a bath, not a shower, a bath, which I also thought it was odd because I typically take showers. I have this thing about germs and everything. So I typically stand up and shower versus a bath. So I remember I took a bath. I still felt kind of odd or weird, like someone was watching me. So for whatever reason, I left the room after taking a shower, I had on like a robe or whatever. And so these two women came up to me, and from the first moment they were in my space, my little antennas went off. I don't know about you. But anyway, they were two white women. They had dark hair and just everything about them was dark except their skin. Very gothic looking. So if you can kind of understand what I'm saying when I say gothic, that was kind of what they was looking at. But again, I was acting like I wasn't afraid of them. And I'm like, what is it? How are you? Da-da-da. They was like, oh, you should come with us. I think they said something about, oh, you shouldn't be in that small room. We have a bigger room. Maybe I don't know the details because it's been so long, but for whatever reason, they talked me into going down. It ended up being a hall, even though I was outside in a motel. And usually motels, that means there's not your entryway to your room is to the parking lot or whatever. Hotel, you kind of go in and your room is not necessarily the exit to your room is not necessarily directly to the parking lot. You know what a hotel looks like, right? Versus a motel. I would assume you guys do. But anyway, this was a motel, so it ended up turning into a hallway. And in this hallway, it was like all the way at the end of the hallway, you could see that there was a light, like you had to go around a corner to go in a room. And it didn't have a door, but it was a light, like you had to go around a corner. So you walk through this kind of dim hallway and then go around the corner, and I can hear them giggling. I'm like, what are y'all giggling at? Like, what's so funny? So get around the corner and I see 4 or 5 beds and they had no bedding. There were just beds with white sheets and nobody was in there. And I was like, And then when I turned around, they try to like grab my hand, come with us, come with us. I said, no, I'm not going with you. And I ripped my hand out like that from them. And instead of them fighting with me, they just giggle like that. And then they kind of disappeared. And then I remember telepathically, I sought help from my now love, because I had a dream about him. And then I woke up. So anyway, I'm thinking in the back of my head, after really thinking about this dream years later, I'm thinking that part of that dream was showing me that I was traveling in unfamiliar territory. And feeling like I was being watched, like my every move was being watched. And having these two, I would assume they were Wiccans, approach me. Almost like they were almost like they were energy vampires, like they were trying to scare me, right? In a creepy kind of way, like like giggling like that. And when I rose up on them, they kind of like stepped back a little bit and kind of giggled again, and then they disappeared. Like they knew, you ain't gonna roll up on me. I don't care who you are. You are not gonna roll up on me without me giving you permission. No, you're not gonna touch me. No, you're not gonna take me in that back room with these 5 or 6 beds with no one in the room, and there were white sheets on it. Like that just didn't make sense to me. And these women were wearing black. So I don't know if that symbolized chaos versus creation or creativity. Now that I'm kind of learning more about things and colors and stuff. And so they all work hand in hand together. You have to have chaos in order for evolution, in order to grow, in order to elevate. And I don't know if that's what that meant. Like trying to scare me. I was like, oh no, I'm not going nowhere. And so maybe that's what that was, because now the path I'm on, I am a truth seeker. I seek truth. I do understand that truth is based on the individual and what they think is true and what they believe, whatever. And that's their reality. For my reality, truth is being elevated, is high as far as dimensions or whatever. I'm learning a bit more about dimensions. Right now, we're on the 3rd dimension, I believe. The 9th dimension and above is the nothingness, aka the creator I am, highest divinity, and whatever else is out there, right? I'm still thinking about that. I'm still thinking about how that all played out in that dream. And that, again, was right before I start opening my mind and digging deeper and getting past the fear of the unknown. And now I am cautious. Definitely, I'm still cautious, but I know how to ground myself and spiritually protect myself and call on my spiritual team, as I call them, doing nothing fancy at this point in my journey. I'm not doing anything fancy or doing a whole lot of physical work like some people do. It's all up here and it's right here. It's in my head, it's in my heart. And so that's, what I've been doing. I give gratitude for discernment. I feel it, I know it. And so that in of itself has kept me in a space where I can observe and I can learn. Even the walks that you completely disagree with, it just does not resonate with you. You can learn something from it. I'm at a place right now that the answers to life questions a lot of us have, I'm at a position right now to know that I don't know everything. And in this life, I probably will transition and gain more knowledge that way versus in the physical. I also am at a place right now in my life where each path has something that the other path overlooked. And then you have that click, that aha moment, like, oh my goodness, now that makes sense. Compared to what I learned over here, even though I don't agree with everything over there, but I'm going to take that and put it over here so I can continue to develop. I can continue to evolve spiritually. This is my blueprint over here. That's your blueprint over there. This one right here, this is mine. This is my blueprint. And so over there, that might have been one thing that clicked. And then I would remember that one thing or maybe two things and put it right over here in my collection. And so, yeah, that's what I do believe. Like every walk, every belief system it piggybacks, or how should I put this? I think evolving spiritually is either idle or slows down the process when we don't when we are not open to learn outside of our box. That box, maybe we were born into it, or maybe there was a life, tragedy or an experience, and we're in this box here, right? And whatever's not in this box, we shut it out. There could be so many answers that would just click if only we were open to receive truth. And also, everything happens for the highest good. As some people call, whenever something happens bad, well, we call bad, that's destructive and uncomfortable or disharmony or whatever like that. We feel a certain kind of way about it. But I think in some belief systems, some walks, they call it ordained chaos or something like that. Even though it's destructive, even though it causes like direct harm to, the animal kingdom or, humans or whatever like that. But when you think about it on a higher level, all that worked out for the highest good. And then obviously, if you kind of narrow it down to a specific event that's very personal and it's very hurtful, whatever it is, it can be difficult to receive that bit of information or receive that lesson because it's so hurtful. Especially when it happens to the vulnerable, to the young. So that dream with the Wiccans or whatever, I believe that whenever I face something that's uncomfortable, no matter how dark it may be, as some people say, the pressure, there must be pressure for there to be any kind of precious stone to be created. It has to be so much pressure and chaos to happen before there is a precious stone to even dig up. Again, when you're brought up in a household where you truly believe good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people eventually, and then you realize, actually, when that person did X, Y, and Z, they played a role, even though it was destructive and hurtful and every other word or an adjective you want to use to describe what happened. It was for the highest good. And so at this point in my journey, I do believe in karma. I do believe in generational trauma. And the list goes on and on and on. And so I also believe whenever there's someone or a group of people that rub you the wrong way, especially if you're in your lane, minding your own business, maybe, just maybe, they are put in your life or your lives to teach you a lesson. Maybe, just maybe, back in the day, in another time, you were them. And several lifetimes later, you are learning a lesson, what not to do. And how not to treat people, how not to treat the environment. Maybe, just maybe, that's what's going on. Maybe. And the more I read and dive into Kabbalah, and I'm just putting a name on it because, you know, it is what it is. I'm thinking of Kabbalah right now off the top of my head. One thing about Kabbalah, and I'm a very, 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 very new to this, okay? So if you know anything about Kabbalah, please share. If not, you're learning right along with me, right? One thing about the Tree of Life, also known as Kabbalah, is that you have, they call them the cephalus. And I'm not even going to sit here and try to like describe what I'm talking about. You're gonna just have to do some homework and figure it all out. But yeah, Sephiroths, that's what they call them. So if you're ever looking at the Tree of Life or Kabbalah, the chart, if you look at it, at the very top is Keter, and then on the left side you have Binah, and on the right side you have Chokchima, right? Binah and Chokchima, if you think about it as far as feminine, masculine, Binah is more of a feminine energy, and Chokchima is a masculine energy. And Keter is at the very top. Now there's several Sephiroths, but I'm talking about those top three. The way I look at it, the way I'm interpreting right now in my like studies, is that Keter is the great I am, the nothingness, the all in all, right? Creator. And then you have Binah and you have Chokchima. Binah is knowledge, the feminine energy, sometimes destructive. And then you have Chokchima, which has that masculine energy, the force. Well, how should I put this? And let me just make sure that I'm saying this as clear as possible. Keter, the great I am, is both a feminine and masculine energy. Like God and goddess. Like Binah is more like goddess, and Chokchima is more like God. Put together, you have Keter. And in the middle, you have the Sephiroths. Again, if you're looking at the Kabbalah chart or the Tree of Life, you'll see in the middle, that's balance. So on the left side, you have destructive, what have you, energy. And on the right, you have the positive energy. And what we want to do is we want to be able to meet in the middle and have balance. There's no balance without the positive and the negative. If it's all positive, 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 there's no balance. There must be balance. There must be. So whenever we want things to be as pleasant as possible, where we hear angels singing or whatever, the nice ones, because you know there's different type of angels, okay, not just the ones that we learn about in Bible study. That's nice. We ain't talking about just the nice ones. But again, I'm just learning a little bit about Kabbalah. I kind of touched up on it, or initially was introduced to it maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I kind of like put it to the side because I wasn't intellectually and spiritually ready for it. Now I've gone back to that, and now it's starting to make sense. And all paths, whatever you believe in, it has that same structure. You have the negative, and you have the positive, and then you have the balance in the middle. So you have people who do good stuff all the time, and then they may slip up over here and do something that's negative or whatever. And then in the middle is the balance, where at the end of the day, they helped humankind or whatever. Then you might be like, well, yeah, he or she did X, Y, and Z over there, but it benefited us on a massive scale. And again, I may not be explaining this as clear as possible because I'm still learning this. But What I'm saying is, all these belief systems out here, if you line it up with Kabbalah, it makes sense. Kabbalah is like a blueprint where all of these paths, be it destructive or not, lead to Kabbalah, the tree of life. And so those people who choose to go the destructive path, as some people call things that they may not understand, there's a reason, and there's a reason, and it's for the highest good. So back to the clown in the White House. Many people are for him, and many people are not for him. And at the same time, he is in a position to be destructive, to stir up the pot. Eventually, things gonna balance out. But we need that chaos. Gonna need that chaos to actually catapult us in the direction that we need to be in. Another dream I had, which the only thing I remember in that dream was I was looking in a mirror. I was looking at myself, but then I didn't recognize myself. And I remember when I woke up in the middle of the night, I was doing this, like trying to feel my face, because my face in the dream, when I looked in the mirror, was not pleasant. And so I don't know if that was a reflection of the side of me that's low, like the vibration is low. And it was a reflection, something I need to work on to help balance things out. But yeah, so, I mean, I've had, like one time when I was really heavy into genealogy and trying to find paperwork and all that, I went to sleep. And right between that time when you doze off and then you're in a deep sleep, right in that time, I used to hear things all the time. Until I shut it off because I didn't want to hear it. Like I didn't want to be waking up scared or whatever. But I used to hear, words here and there, phrases. And I remember right when I was about to fall asleep, deep fall asleep, I heard the word Stephen, 1889 or something like that. I could be wrong by the date. It was in the 1800s. And then obviously I woke up, I was like, Stephen, 1889. Why did that name pop up in my head? And I heard it in my ear, like Stephen, 1889. So that could be an ancestor that I couldn't find in the records for whatever reason. Also, in another dream I had, I remember hearing a voice that said, and this isn't a dream, right? It says, of course you are, and this person or whatever in my dream named my tribal affiliation. Yes, you are so-and-so. Look at the shape of your head. And then I woke up. I was like, the shape of my head? Like, this is a special shape of your head that, like, you're identified as whatever tribal community. So anyway, that was kind of funny. But it was kind of like I got confirmation of what I was, I guess, seeking. Trying to think. I have so many dreams. Like, it's crazy. Another dream I had, trying to see how I can phrase it. Let me see. Oh, for those who are actually watching, feel free to chime in. Feel free to, chat with me if you like. I kind of feel like I'm talking to myself here, even though I see that there's 3 people watching. So thanks for watching, whoever you are. If you have knowledge that I have yet to touch on, feel free to share. Because for me, I love to learn. And if there's information out there that I'm kind of overlooking, or maybe I'm just not ready for it yet, you can still share the information if you are wise, you have wisdom and intellect and all that. Maybe you've acquired it over the course of your life. Maybe you tapped into it spiritually and you were able to catapult, at a younger age with information. But yeah, feel free to share. I would love to know more information. Trying to think of what else. This was, I guess you can kind of say this was a dream, maybe sort of, kind of, sort of. But I used to have sleep paralysis quite a bit. And if you know anything about sleep paralysis, that is a very scary experience when you don't know what's going on. And I remember I was in college. Might have been sophomore, maybe a junior in college. It was one of those years. And I remember I was sleeping on my stomach. And back then I would stay up all night, be it studying or whatever. And then my classes, I had them scheduled for the afternoons and evenings. So all of my classes at that upperclassmen classes were scheduled in the evening. So I can kind of like sleep all day if I wanted to. And so I remember my roommate, she had early classes. And I say all of this because when she's moving around or whatever, I could sleep through it. She had a TV on, and I remember hearing her get up and go to the bathroom and I hear the shower. But then next thing I know, I can see. And there's literally, you remember that movie, if you guys watch horror movies or even seen the trailer, it was called Grudge, with the hair, covering her face. Is she walking like this? Okay. So I'm laying on my stomach and I literally remember seeing something in my face like this, like the hair, whatever was in that face like this. And this thing put its tongue in my mouth. And I obviously couldn't scream. I couldn't move or nothing. I could hear the TV and I could hear her in the bathroom taking a shower. And I remember I start in my head, I said, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And then I remember I started biting. I ended up biting, obviously, my own tongue. But I was like trying to wake myself up. I didn't know that's what I was doing as far as waking myself up. But that's what I was trying to do, like trying to get out of it. And eventually, this thing lifted up off of me. And I was able to move and get up. And I'm like, what the hell was that? Because I know I wasn't sleeping. That was one of many scary situations. But that one was very in my face. I mean, I've had other situations that wasn't as like freaky, but that was freaky. So I've learned over the years, spiritual cleanses, as far as for me, I burn sage. I now burn Palo Santo sticks. I talked about that in my last video. And while I'm taking a shower, I bathe or I take a shower with the smoke and everything. And for me, that's my spiritual cleansing every day, unless I'm traveling. And then I have my crystals and stuff like that too. I keep my crystals on me. Again, a good friend suggested that I burn sage, and that should help. And it literally helped. Like for real, for real. I went years without having an episode. And whenever I sleep at night, I definitely have a crystal either on me or near me for protection. And I mean, I've learned more about what happened and the scientific explanation and things of that nature. But back then, it was some scary stuff. And so I don't know if that was considered lucid dreaming, sleep paralysis, or whatever. But that was something else. And that, even though it was scary and all of that, it pushed me to flex my spiritual muscles. And obviously you wouldn't know that you have those spiritual muscles unless you are triggered, right? You don't know if you need something unless something nudges you, right? You're not, for most people, they're not really, what's the word? Aware of the spiritual gifts until later in life, when there's something that hit them like a freight train, and they have to dig in deep to get that inner strength, right? Some people do know at a very young age because they can see things, they can hear things, and it's very aggressive, and they have to learn as they get older how to control and how to set boundaries, right? But for me, my experiences, I could hear things, but I didn't really pay close attention to it until later in life, and I realized that's what it was. Like, everybody doesn't hear things, like somebody calling them or whatever, ain't nobody in the house. I mean, some people may say, oh, I thought you called me. Did you call me? No, I didn't call you. But see, that was kind of in my family. So I don't know outside of my family if other people had the same experiences. But all the time, like, did you call me? Huh? Like, no, I didn't call you, and vice versa. I'm going to share this one last dream, and then I'm going to get off. And I may have shared this dream a while back. I'm not sure. But since I'm talking about dreams, I'm going to share it. This is real, not a dream, what I'm about to say. So I was sharing an apartment with two of my college buddies, and they decided they want to get a Ouija board and play with it. Now, me being very cautious about everything, I said, hell to the no, But at the same time, if they're playing with it, they've opened up something if they don't know what they're doing. So in my dream, I remember that in my dream, I remember they were playing with the Ouija board or something in my dream. And I left that room. And then the next room, I opened the door. Now, again, the apartment I stayed in, you had the living room, you had like the kitchen area. So let's just say you're facing the front door. When you first walk in, there's the living room, then there's the kitchen on the side. You walk a little bit more, there's the hall bathroom, and then right across from the hall bathroom is the first bedroom. And then you walk down the hall again, you have a second bedroom on that side, and then you have the third bedroom with the bath in there on the left side. So that's kind of how it looks. So anyway, in the dream, they were, friends or whatever in my dream, were in the living room playing with a Ouija board or something. Again, that was the dream. And remember what I told you about them playing with a Ouija board, and that wasn't a dream. But anyway, in my dream, they were in the living room playing with it. I was like, So the first bedroom, right off of the living room, when you pass the living room, for whatever reason, which it was not my room. In real life, that was one of my friend's rooms, the first bedroom. Why would I go in her room? I don't know. Especially if she's in the living room, why would I go in her room? So So long story short, because this is a long story short, right? I decided to open this door. And when I opened this door, there's this huge round table. And at the head of the table was my grandma, my paternal grandmother. And then I saw my aunt, my dad's sister, who had passed away. And then I saw my other aunt, who was not deceased then. She literally died, I think, 2 summers ago, I think, 2 or 3 summers ago. But for whatever reason, she was in this dream. She was sitting next to my grandmother. And then I remember after those 3 relatives, I didn't recognize anyone else. However, when I looked around that round table, and this round table, it kind of reminds you of Spartacus. Like if you've seen shows like that, or Gladiator, that movie. You know how back in those times, how the kings and rulers would sit around this huge round table. So anyway, I remember in this round table, my paternal grandmother, my 2 aunts, one deceased in real life and one that wasn't at that time. And then all of these people that were sitting around this table. And then when I looked across from me, I could see like somebody sitting there, but I didn't recognize their face because it was very like almost like a shadow. And so when I looked and I couldn't see people, but I knew, like in my core, I knew they were my ancestors. And so when I stand there in the door, I'm like, what is this? And then my grandma said, come on in here, child. Ain't nobody gonna hurt you. And then I woke up. And to this day, that dream has been so vivid. This is a dream I had in the early 2000s, y'all. And I'm not trying to show my age or whatever, but I was a senior in college, early 2000s. And so here it is, 2019. And I still remember that dream because it was so vivid and it was so... Because the thing is, with my grandma, she died when I was 4 years old. So I didn't have a chance to really get to know her. But I knew who she was in my dream. And she was like, nobody gonna hurt you. She said, ain't nobody gonna hurt you. So everybody in that room was an ancestor sitting around a huge round table. And that was in the early 2000s. And here it is all this time later. And I still remember that. And I believe that was a visitation, because whenever you have a visitation in your dreams, that's when you know a deceased person is deceased. You know that in your dream. It's not like you dream of someone and you don't know that they have passed on. Like I knew that my grandmother was deceased, and it startled me. I'm like, why is she talking to me? She's dead. Why is my Aunt Mary here? She's dead, right? I knew they had crossed over already. So that was a visitation. And at the time, I didn't know it. So anyway, guys, that's all I have to say tonight. Very quiet evening. No one has been chit-chatting with me. That's okay. Continue to be blessed. Be a blessing to others. And until next time, toodles.